Hello everybody, I'm Nora Burrows. I have a bunch of Halloween scraps. Some of them were given to me by a guild member recently, and then a bunch of them I accumulated doing a recent block exchange. So I wanted to do something scrappy. Let's see what we can think up. My scraps here are really all different sizes. For example, this one, which is one of my favorites, it's like punk rock with the skeletons, but some of them are bigger, like this piece and this piece are nice and large. And then other ones are pretty teeny tiny, like this pumpkin and skeleton strip here. I'm going to first kind of sort these out by color and give some of them a good press. I have my pieces sorted here by color, blacks, random colors, whites, oranges over here, purples. I'm going to start with this cute bear family here. It was already cut into a square, and then I took a second fabric. I'm going to use this pumpkin fabric. I have more of this as well. I'm going to cut strips to go around this middle square. Here we have this guy surrounded in the pumpkin fabric. Super cute. What we're going to do next is add on to this. We're going to expand a little bit. Now I have this fabric here that I love, but I only have this tiny piece. I don't have enough to even do two sides. Ideally, I'd love to do, here and down, but I don't have enough. So I'm going to do just one side, trim it off. I'll probably use the end to maybe start a center of another block. And then I'll go around the whole thing in this, let's see, do I have enough of these little pieces here? Yeah, so then I'll go around the whole block in this smiley pumpkin fabric. Then we're going to see at that point how big we are, because we're not just going to keep expanding and then sew the blocks together. That you could do that. That would be easy and super cool, and I think it would look great. But we're going to do something else. So I'm going to do that with this block, and then I'm going to keep creating those little blocks. So for example, I made this one here, and I'm going to surround this one in the purple skulls. Love that little bat right in the middle. The important thing is to have contrast. So here I just have the little polka dots, the scribble writing, and then I'll have the witches going around. Here is my 10.5-inch block. I have 3 of these. So you could put them right next to each other here. First, let me show you the 3 blocks. So as you notice, I'm not worried about keeping things symmetrical or the same fabric. These fabrics are separated. Since they're scraps, it's really you put things wherever you have space for. And I actually kind of like the asymmetrical look. I actually did this on purpose. I could have had this outer border all be the same size, but I made this side smaller and that side bigger. So these are all 10.5 inches, and you could, just put these right next to each other, and that would kind of be a cool quilt, a cool scrappy quilt in itself, and would have kind of a look like that. But I'm going to do something a little bit different. What I would like to do is to make some half square triangles to go right across each one of the sides. So if I do my math correctly, I will want 5 half square triangles for each side. To make those, you want to cut a 3-inch square of light and dark fabric, draw a line going straight down the middle, and then sew on both sides of that line. Can you see my stitches there? Then you're going to cut right down that line and open up your triangles. Here's your half square triangle. Give that a nice iron, and you're going to want to trim this to be 2.5 inches. This will be a little bit more than 2.5 inches, so you'll want to trim it to be 2.5 inches. So let's see, how many do you need? 5, 10, 15, 20 for each block. I recommend scrappying them up, but kind of keeping it controlled scrappy, meaning, I may change my orange, but I'll continue to have it orange. And I might change my light color to be different fabrics, but I'll keep it a light gray or a white, that kind of thing. So play around and have fun. I'm going to make my half square triangles, and then we'll take a look at what's next. I have my 20 half square triangles here, 5 for each side. I'll sew these together. Here you can see I've sewn my half square triangles together using 4 different fabrics, 2 orange and 2 of the background, that gray. I'm pretty happy with this one. I think that the contrast is good. So I need to cut some 2.5-inch squares to put in the corners here. And I think what I'm going to do is kind of do opposites. So these two have gingham here. So instead of gingham, I'll use kind of this text print. And then here I have the text print. So instead of using the text print, I'll use some gingham and see how that looks. I've done this same thing for the other 2 blocks as well. Here's one that's really fun with the eyes. And I think that the contrast for some of these is pretty good. Specifically, these have square triangles with the diamond and the batik. Really good. Then this one here is a little more disappointing. I just didn't get the contrast that I wanted, I think, between the purple and the background. But once it's all sewn together, I might like it more. But let me sew those last pieces. And when I say last pieces, I mean cut out my 2.5-inch squares. I'll sew the 2.5-inch squares to the bottom and the top piece. I'll sew the sides to the body of the block, and then I'll sew the top and the bottom to the body of the block. I have 3 of these blocks finished. I think they're looking pretty good. I'll show you the other 2 in a minute, but I want to mention that I do have a series of Watch What I Make with These Scraps videos. I have a playlist, but you could also just search Mostly Quilts and Watch What I Make with These Scraps. A bunch of videos will come up. So this one has been a lot of fun. Love the Halloween fabric. Here's the first block here. Think that it's really successful. Love the contrast. And then I ended up doing 3 of the checkerboards in the corner and 1 of this print fabric, just because the way that the way it got laid out, I'm not exactly sure, but the newsprint ended up in most of the corners. But I think it looks great. I think it looks really good. Not everything has to be the same. I think it still has balance, even though one is different. Let me show you the next one. Here's the bear. This is the one that I wasn't really so crazy about for a while because of the lack of contrast, but I think it's actually better than I was feeling like it was initially. So super cute, that bear in the middle. Love the little pumpkin smiles all around, and then that pop of purple around the edge is really fun. And here is the last one. Those googly eyes are just hilarious, aren't they? I'm not so sure about this rectangle in the middle. That seems a little bit random to me. I think it would have been better if it was a square, but you know, you just don't know these things till you keep going. But I really like these fabrics around the edge. As I mentioned, the diamonds and then the batik. This, I think, is really successful. Let's see if I can get all 3 of them in the camera together. Here are the 3 of them together. Really fun. You could just line them right up next to each other or do some sashing in between. You could do a stripe sashing, would be fun. I also made more blocks. So I made some, as I was sewing together those 3 full blocks, I was sewing together pieces to make additional centers. So this one I think is the only one that's 10.5 inches square, but I think it's really cute. This one came out pretty good. I had to use 2 different fabrics for the orange there. And I had to piece together some of these strips. You can see this is a sewn line there to have enough fabric. And here are a couple other ones that I made that are not quite 10.5 inches, but really, really fun. This one's really bright. The purple cats and the orange cobwebs. And then this is the last one with the pumpkin in his hat. Really fun. And here I thought I'd just show you another potential use for your Halloween scrap. So this quilt here is made up obviously of 9 patches. And the 9 patches, most of them use 2 fabrics in each 9 patch. And then you just put them next to each other. Now the thing to note about this is that you have to alternate having every other 9 patch start with a light in the upper left-hand corner and start with every other one having a dark in the upper left-hand corner. If you don't do that, you'll end up, when you put the blocks next to each other, you'll end up with 2 either lights together or 2 darks together. But this would also be a great layer cake project. And let me show you one of the blocks to tell you why I think it would be great for layer cakes. As I mentioned, most of these have the 2 different fabrics in each 9 patch. This one, however, has 3 different fabrics. So what you could do is you could take a layer cake. This is a layer cake. It's a line of fabric, a fabric line cut into 10-inch squares. So you could take one of the pieces here, cut it exactly down the middle again, so that you had 4 pieces. Put each of those 4 pieces in one of the corners. Then take another piece of your layer cake, say this plaid, do the same thing, cut it in half and half again, and then you would put those pieces up, down, left, right. You would take a third layer cake piece, cut it in 4s, and you'd put it right in the middle, and then you could kind of sprinkle those ones around your quilt. I hope that makes sense. Thank you for joining me. Happy Halloween to you. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.